town called Berat, and we've had a whole hoo-ha getting here because we were meant to get here last night, but to get from the mountains where we were to here it was 3 different buses and you had to keep changing in different towns. Anyway, by the time we got to Tirana for our last bus, we'd missed it by 20 minutes. There was no way to get here. It was really expensive to get a taxi, so we had to stay in Tirana overnight and then get a bus here this morning. Anyway, so we're here. It's lunchtime. I'm very hungry, so our first priority is to get some food and then we can start exploring. So we found ourselves in a little place called Lily's, and Lily is the owner of this place, and we're sitting in his back garden and we've just got our food and I am so excited. It looks really, really good. I'm going to show you what we've got. So we've got ourselves a tomato salad, a green salad, some stuffed roast aubergines, some stuffed roast tolma, which is tomato here, some bread. Danny's got some wine. We're ready to dig in, aren't we? We finished our food and it was really good, especially the aubergine. It was just so full of flavour. And as an aperitif, we've been brought some rakia. You ready, Danny? Gazuar. It's strong stuff, but it's good. So we've just come out of Lily's restaurant, and Lily is the most flamboyant, lovely host you could wish to have. He's really nice, he's really enthusiastic, his wife does all the cooking, and we've had a great meal. Now we're gonna go down to the waterfront and look at the site that Berat is famous for. What graffiti did you spot at the top?
Off the end of the huts, the communist leader.
It's a bizarre bit of
How
graffiti, yeah.
As if it's from the 70s or something, then it makes sense, but they might scrub it off, or I don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
and if it's recent,
kind of
then it's interesting. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, not many recent people celebrate their old communist dictators. So we're on the other side of the bridge now. The one that we were looking over the river onto the view, and we're just going to have a little walk around this area. It already looks lovely. First of all, look at these massive oranges? What are they? I think they're oranges, but they're gigantic. And there's olive trees everywhere. So this town is actually a UNESCO World Heritage Site, and it's also known as the city with 1,000 eyes. And I think it's because when you're on the other side of the river, it does feel like you're being watched a little bit. But it looks really nice. We've just spotted this church up in the mountain in the cliff face. Looks really cool from here. It reminds me of the monastery that we saw in Chiatora in Georgia. We've come out of the main kind of old bit of the town because we're going to explore it more thoroughly tomorrow. However, what's got Danny excited is that all around this town there's loads of different types of memorials from the communist era, and they've kept them all up.
Well,
so
they haven't.
Well, I mean, but they still...
But yeah, they've literally kept them up. They're not keeping them up.
Yeah.
So you have the water dripping down here. That'd be quite nice. Put it down here, then you've got, I imagine, some kind of like shh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They've been lit up at night.
1988. So that's...
It's a couple of years before communism fell here.
3 years, yeah.
You can see all the old pictures, like really traditional images of what the perfect life would have been.
So there's 2 places you can stay in Berat. You can stay either here or in here? You can choose.
We actually thought at first we were walking up to some kind of big fancy government building because it's massive and it's really like fancy, and then yeah, we get here and it's a hotel. It's crazy.
It looks completely derelict though. It's gated off there.
Yeah, I wonder how many people actually stay here.
I think.
This morning we've come to Berat Castle. We don't know an awful lot about it, we're just going to go in and have a look. We've had a bit of a steep climb to get up here, so we're both quite out of breath, but the views are beautiful. The only thing we really know about the castle is that people still live inside here, so there's homes and hotels and restaurants and stuff. But we're going to go in and explore it now. So we're now within the castle grounds. It's nice up here, but I wouldn't want to be coming up and down here every day. It's good exercise, but it's exhausting. Whew. As we're walking along, there's just a bit of old cannon here. Not even the whole thing. Doesn't even look like it was left here on purpose.
It looks enough that if someone was there, a strong man to stick it out in their heads.
Konstantin someone or other. We've come across this guy here. His name's Konstantin Mad. I don't know what he's done and why he's important, but he does have a very big head.
These eyes as well. Swell.
We've spotted this little church up there, so we're going to head up, see if we can have a look inside. So the church is from the 13th and the 14th century, and it's a mix of Byzantine and Western architecture apparently. But it's very difficult to see inside because actually it's a bit derelict and there's a couple of people in there doing some restoration work. But we can tell just from like kind of looking around the walls that there were some incredible frescoes in there, and you can kind of see bits and pieces of them, but a lot of it's faded, which is a shame. But it's a very tiny little church and it's very pretty from the outside. I think it's really cute, and I'm sure once they've restored it, the inside's going to look beautiful as well. The building you can see behind me is the water cistern, and when people were living here in the Middle Ages, it's what they would have used for their water reserves, and it would have been there filled with water for the city to use. And I think as a feat of architecture and engineering at the time, it was really quite something. And if any of you have been to Istanbul, there's the Sistine Basilica down there, and this is just like a miniature version of that. It's really incredible. I didn't expect anything quite so big in here. I know we're here off season, so we're expecting it to be a little quieter, but I'm surprised at how few tourists we've actually seen. We've seen maybe 3 or 4 other people who are obviously tourists, and actually this whole area is eerily quiet. And it's incredible. This is a UNESCO site. It's a really cool castle here, and there's barely anyone here. So we've got it practically to ourselves. Who's talking to Danny right now, he was telling us about this section of the castle, and during the communist times these doors here behind me actually functioned as a prison, and they would lock people up in these arches. So something interesting just happened. I don't know if you want me to talk about it or you want to talk about it.
I can give some background. So during the communist period, Albania pretty much only friend was China after the Soviet-Albanian split. And some Albanians would study Chinese.
In China?
In China, and also I think in some schools, some Chinese would come here and teach Chinese and learn Albanian. And we've been wondering if we could potentially seek the Holy Grail and find an Albanian who spoke fluent Chinese, and we did.
Yeah, we've just been walking through the castle and a Chinese tour group walked past us, and we saw they had an Albanian guide, but he was speaking fluent Mandarin with them, which was really interesting. So we asked him, we said hello and asked him about it, and he actually studied Chinese in China. He was one of those people who went over in the 80s
to learn chemistry in Shanghai in Chinese.
Yeah, so he learned Mandarin in Beijing, then went to Shanghai and learned chemistry in Chinese. It's incredible. Yeah. My mind is blown. And also, yeah, you've achieved your Albanian goal. We're coming out of the castle citadel area now. It's been really nice. It's an incredible area, actually, isn't it?
It's really well kept, like the houses and stuff like that. It's kind of, it still feels like a living, little, like a proper old town.
Hi. Ciao.
Hi. Ciao. Ciao.
Behind me is the lead mosque, and it's known as the lead mosque because the roof is made out of lead, and it's one of the oldest mosques in the area. It was built in the 1600s, and apparently it's one of the best preserved bits of Ottoman architecture in the area. It hasn't been changed much since it was built. We can't go in right now though, so I can't show you the inside. And then actually it's just opposite this beautiful church as well, which I don't know anything about, but we're going to go and have a look. Apparently this building is the remains of the Pasha of Berat. I don't know what a Pasha is, but some kind of leader. And they had a super fancy house here, but none of it's really been preserved anymore. So you can just see the leftover ruins. It's a bit of a shame, but it's actually really beautiful, and it's cool that you can just walk around the city and see it. So this is the second mosque that we wanted to come to. It's called the Bachelors Mosque because it was built specifically for bachelors, but why it's famous is because it's got all these beautiful paintings around the outside of the mosque and a big belt at the top, but also inside the mosque. But like our luck seems to always have it, it's been done up completely at the moment, so we can't go inside, which is a massive shame, because actually you can still see some of the paintings on the inside, but you just can't go in and look at them properly. So that's that then. We're probably going to go and find somewhere to have a coffee now, just sit down and chill. So as you can see, we're at another bus station, which means we're moving on from Berat. We're leaving. It's a really nice town. Definitely for a couple of days it's worth a visit. There's a couple of things we didn't do as well, like there's a few hikes in the area that we didn't look at. And it's just a really pretty place to be, so I definitely recommend it if you do ever come to Albania. But right now we're just waiting for our bus and we're heading over to Geocastra. See you there.